Today we're going to be making something I've never made before. That's banh mi sandwiches, sauteed bok choy, and something, well, that I've made a few times in my life, Bloody Marys. Stick around, check this out. Alright, let's start by making these Bloody Marys today. Let's go over the ingredients we're going to throw in there. We got some Sriracha, we got some vodka, celery seed, tomato juice, Worcestershire sauce, curry powder, black pepper, lemon, salt, and some horseradish. Also not pictured as you see here. On the right I've got a little bit of pickle juice I'm going to add. So first I'm going to add a whole container, which is about 4 cups of tomato juice in, followed up by some pickle juice that I'm going to strain here. I don't want any of that extra schmag in there, so we're going to strain that off. Thank you, my lovely assistant, for the help on that. We're going to dump that in. Next, we're going to add about 3 cups of vodka. My container's running a little small there, so it was about 2 3/4 cups of vodka, followed up by some horsey, about a tablespoon of that, and a couple teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce in there. And next is curry powder. Looked like I threw in 2 teaspoons of that, followed up by a little dibble drabble of Sriracha in there, and a wee pinch of salt. Next, I'm going to throw in some celery seed, followed up here with some black pepper. I'm going to throw that in there, and I'm going to cut this lemon in half and squeeze the hell out of it. We're going to throw both of those in there. Get some lemon is key in a good Bloody Mary, I think. Let's stir that up. Oh, there's one thing I forgot. Tabasco. It's got to be spicy. Throw some more of that in there. Let's give that a wiggle jam stir. Stirred up real nice, and I'm going to throw the lid on this bad boy, and I'm going to let that refrigerate for about at least 3 to 4 hours. Get it nice and cold if I can get this stinking lid on there. And I got it with the help of another person. Finally figured it out. So like I said, we're going to refrigerate that for at least 4 hours. Get it nice and cold. Now we're going to work on the vegetables for the banh mi sandwich. First up, I have daikon here. Awesome looking root vegetable. I'm going to peel it, and then I could cut it up real small, julienne or whatever, but I decided today, this is going to be quick. Let's go ahead and use the old shredder machine and get that shredded up really nice and fine. Works really well for this. Next up, I'm going to take a couple carrots. You could use matchsticks carrots for this, but I had some leftover carrots from another meal. I'm just going to peel those up real quick and chop off the ends of them here. And then we're going to shred those puppies up. Alright, now that I've got these all shredded up here, looking real good, I'm going to go ahead and grab a container, ball jar, and I'm going to load those in there. It's always a fun, clean job, as you can see, when you're working with shredded vegetables. Alright, next up, we're going to pickle these. First, I'm going to do about 3/4 of a cup of white wine vinegar. Then I'm going to add a 1/2 cup of white sugar. followed up by 2 teaspoons of salt. And we're going to whisk that puppy up till the sugar dissolves some. You'll have a little bit of residual sugar in there, but that's okay. And once you have that combined, go ahead and add that into your daikon and carrots. Get your space cleaned up. Throw the lid on there. Also, I want to note, it didn't quite cover those carrots and daikon all the way. So I threw a little water in there and then just threw the lid on. I'm going to shake it up real good, get it kind of mixed in there. And then I'm going to pop that bad boy for at least 4 hours in the fridge to let that marinate real nice. And while I'm waiting on that to marinate in the mixture, I'm going to go ahead and get my next thing prepared for later, which are some bok choy for the sauteed bok choys. I'm going to cut that up in about 1-inch size pieces. Throw it in some ice cold water. I did rinse this bok choy before I started to cut it, but I always like to double rinse, get all the sand and grit. Sometimes those vegetables can be a little gritty, but yeah, chop them up, throw them in some cold water, and you'll see I'm going to work them in that water with my hands just to make sure I get all that dirt off. I thought I washed them off pretty good, but once I started working them in that water and took them out of the water was kind of nasty, so I'm glad I did this. Don't skip the step if you do bok choy. Otherwise, you'll be chewing on some sand and grit. You don't want that. So I rinsed those off again after I drained the water out of the bowl there. And now I'm just throwing them in a salad spinner here. And I'm going to get them dried off, because you don't want to cook wet vegetables. They got to be dry. So we'll give those a spin. Now that those are dry, I'm just going to let those hang out and sit aside till I need them. Next thing I'm going to do is prepare some of the vegetables, other vegetables that are going on the banh mi sandwiches. One of them is just some English cucumber here. I'm just going to go ahead and I'll cut this piece into thirds and then just do some matchstick size pieces or so with these cucumber. These are some of my favorite cucumbers. They don't have large seeds in them, with kind of piss me off with some of the other cucumbers, but this cucumber pisses me off the least, so that's why I go with it. It's a standard in my house. The family likes it, so we're going to roll with it. Cut those up nice pieces, set them aside. We'll speed through this here real quick. Next up, we got some jalapenos, also known as jalapenos. We're just going to take those, cut the top off, disregard that piece, and then we're going to slice this real thin. I leave the seeds in. You can pick them out. I mean, they're spicy, but if you like spice, good. If you want to pick the seeds out, go for it. I leave it in. I'm pretty much the only one in my house that will eat them with seeds, so I'm cooking, so we're going to leave them. Alright, so next right here I have some garlic. We're going to work on my sauce that's going to go on the pork for the sandwiches. So I'm just going to mash up these garlics here, and once I get them peeled, I'm going to cut off the little stem part of them. It's a little brown part. Again, probably not the greatest thing to gnaw on, so I'm going to just pitch it and then just finely dice these up. So I'm going to throw about 3/4 of that garlic in my bowl. I'm going to reserve about a tablespoon or so here for a minute. You'll see that's going to go into my bok choy. So I'll set that aside if I can hit the bowl right. Spill half of it. So for my pork sauce with the garlic, we're going to add, it's probably about a 1/4 cup of soy sauce. I'm going to do about a tablespoon of ginger and another tablespoon or two. Looks like a tablespoon of escapes my mind. Why can't I think of it? It's sesame oil, followed up by 2 tablespoons of fish sauce. You can't leave this step out. Fish sauce is major umami. Add it. If you don't like it, too bad. You're going to add it. And then we're going to add some chili garlic paste in there, about a teaspoon of that, followed up a couple tablespoons of brown sugar. And then we are going to mix that together. Get that really nice incorporated. Doop 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 doop. Finish mixing that up, and we're going to set that aside. Alright, so we're going to work on our bread next for these banh mi sandwiches. Follow me here. This is some Japanese mayo, about a 1/4 cup. You can use regular mayo. Followed up by some hoisin sauce. I'm going to go about, maybe a 1/3 of a cup there. And then I'm going to add another dribble drabble of some of that Sriracha sauce. And then we're going to mix that up. Don't skip this step either. If you make these sandwiches, you have to do this. Like I said, you can use regular mayo if you don't have Japanese mayo. But these things, this makes the bread incredible. It gives so much flavor to that sandwich. You're going to want to do this. I know it looks like baby poop, but ignore that. You're going to want to use it. So I just have some rolls here I picked up at the grocery store. I don't even know what they are. They just look similar, kind of like a little French roll or whatever. So I'm going to cut these, not all the way through, so I can pull them apart. They still stay together. Then I'm going to take the top part out of the bun, make kind of a well in there, so that when we stack our sandwiches, we got room for our toppings in there. So I'm going to go ahead and prepare these buns the same way. And bam, there they are. And next, I'm going to take that lovely sauce we made. Almost looks like peanut butter. Man, it's so good. I can't even describe it. You guys just have to do it. So lather that up on all your bread. Once you have that all lathered on your bread, I think my oven's like at 450, 425 or 450. I'm going to pop that in the oven. I think I left that in there for about 10 minutes. And next we're going to start our bok choy. So I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of avocado oil. You can use canola oil, anything high smoke point oil you can use. Let that get hot. And there's my reserved garlic I have. I'm going to pop that in the pan. And you know your pan's hot once that garlic starts popping in there. You'll see that in a minute. It's like popcorn. Especially after we add this ginger. I'm going to add probably a tablespoon of that in there. And we're going to give that a stir. You can see things popping. You know you're doing it right if you see popping like that. So once that's incorporated, about 30 seconds, I'm going to add my dried bok choy in there. And I'm going to mix that up and try to get some of that garlic and ginger and avocado. You know, get them coated pretty good. After you get them coated, I'm going to add about a tablespoon or 2 of maple syrup, another tablespoon or so of soy sauce, and that's about a tablespoon of water. And then we'll give that a mix super quick. Then I'm going to pop a lid on it, my homemade pizza tin lid, because I don't have a lid for this. Don't judge. It's okay, it will work. Use what you have. And after that's been on for about maybe 3-4 minutes, pop that off and stir it up and add some more rice wine vinegar in there. Give that a stir. Let that cook out. Let the juices cook down. Now, I noticed when I was using that non-stick skillet, the juices weren't evaporating as fast as I wanted. I got a little impatient. Probably eventually would have done that, but I switched over to my cast iron pan. I got that pretty ripping hot, you can see, and I dumped that in there, hopefully just to get that liquid rendered down, and it worked. You can see there, it rendered down pretty quick after I did that. So Chicks That Cook are a good choice on switching the pan there. Sometimes it happens. You start out using one pan, you think it'll be good, and you're like, why did I do that? But now, that's how you learn. Bok choy's off. It's done. We're putting that cast iron back on there for our banh mi meat, which is shaved pork. We found this at the store. My wife saw it. She bought it. She's like, what can you do with this? And I said, psh, watch this. I'm going to make some banh mi. So she's like, banh who? And I said, yeah, banh mi. She's like, okay. So that's what I did. I stuck with it. Anything you can find, man, you can make something out of it. Just look it up, search. That's what I do. Anyway, meat's pretty much about halfway cooked. Took my sauce I made, you saw me make earlier. Dumped that in there. I didn't use quite all of it. And I'm going to mix that up and let that incorporate in there. It smells so good. Alright, after a few minutes, that looks pretty darn good. Some of the juice is soaked up. I'm going to go ahead and take this off. We're going to get ready to build our sandwich here in just a hot second. Alright, so there's my bread I took out. Again, doesn't look the greatest, but guys, don't skip that step. You're going to want that on there. So I'm going to go ahead and pile that pork on there. And this shaved pork was great, man. It was tender, juicy. It did not dry out. I thought maybe it might dry out because it was, shaved pork, but it did not. Once I add that juice in there, it's good. So we're going to add that pork on there. Make it look all pretty. Then we're going to add some of that cucumber sticks on there. So good. So next up, we're going to open that daikon and carrot combo pickled. I'm going to warn you guys, this stuff tastes amazing. It's so good, but when you open that can up after it's pickled for 4 hours, it's going to smell like somebody did a number 2 somewhere in your house. But don't worry about that. You can't go with that. You have to get through that. They're going to smell it in the next room, but when you put it in that sandwich, it's amazing. We're going to follow that up with some jalapeno slices or jalapenos. Followed that up, we're going to throw in some fresh cilantro. Get that on there all pretty. Some people say this stuff tastes like soap, but not to me. I love cilantro. Stack it on. So right there's the banh mi. You got the bread, and you got the pork, the cucumber, the daikon and carrot pickled, jalapeno, cilantro, followed by that top lid, Japanese mayo, hoisin, and sriracha, and cap that bad boy on there. I tell you what, my kids put their nose up to this, and they took a bite of the sandwich, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, Dad, keep making this sandwich. You will not be disappointed." So you can see here, just before I serve my before I serve my bok choy, I'm going to tap it with a little bit of crushed red pepper and some sesame seeds right on top. And then I'm going to get you a nice cross section of this sandwich so you can see where we're peeking at inside. It's so good. You can pile the meat on there too. We just did not buy a whole lot of that meat for this meal, so I tried to use sparingly, but I would pile that meat on there high. Add those vegetables on there. That is a sandwich with the toasty bread. Alright, last up, we've had that Bloody Mary chill for a long time. We're going to add a celery stick, 2 olives with blue cheese stuffed olives, followed up by a pickle. We're going to top it with some of that Bloody Mary we made in the beginning. It's nice and cold now, and that is a super meal that is amazing. Everybody can enjoy it. Your family will like it. I promise your kids will like it. Make it spicy, make it not spicy. Enjoy. I appreciate everybody watching. Positive feedback I'm getting on my channel. As you always know, I'm going to add the recipe in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back soon with another video.